sounds a little more familiar. And isn't that sweet, folks? It's just sweet, right? Now I heard that coming down the hall, and here's what I heard. Jesse had a friend. Okay. But dig it, you put those two things together, and it's the California sound. It kind of goes together like peanut butter and jelly. He's the jelly. Understands my desire. I've been on the outside, looking into your heart. Oh, there's nothing on earth that should keep us apart. Baby, I can't live without your affection. I can't face another night on my own. I give up my pride to save me from being alone. I can't live without your love. Is everybody with us? So I wait only for an answer. Wonder if tomorrow will be like yesterday. I keep holding on, but I can't go on living this way. Sound great, man. It was fun. I was sitting here playing and I was thinking, wow, I remember when we wrote that song, Gunnar and I were probably, there was a band that I remember, we loved one of their records. It was a band called Platinum Blonde. Yeah, believe it or not, they weren't a big deal in the States, but we listened to that album on endless loop and started wearing our hair like that. Got a lot of grief for it. It was good. So I guess they were the archetypes of us growing our hair. Right? And for the record, spandex is still a privilege and not a right. Indeed it is. So back to our usual program here.
Now that's a glimpse of where we have been,
Right.
And since this is a Rick Nelson night, and he was the, what's that?
We're going to do that later. I'm doing that here because I want to kind of go to the 45s. Trust me on this. All right.
I'm going to let Matthew talk. See, our dad never had to actually say anything. He was on stage and he'd just stand there and close his eyes and sing because he was so beautiful. Matthew has to talk a lot.
Can you tell which one of us has friends and which one doesn't? Okay, so anybody...
You guys are all the friends I need tonight. That's right.
The vinyl 45 single. Anybody have those 45s? You remember those? Right, okay.
The concept was simple. You heard a song on the radio you want to make a part of your life. You went down to a record store when there was such a thing. Some of you, by the looks of things, remember record stores, right? Okay, so it was really kind of cool. You put your hard-earned allowance money down for the A side, pretty much taking for granted that B side was going to be a throwaway, kind of an afterthought. And what was it with that little plastic thing you always lost that went in the middle? You had to center it by eye. They never figured that out. But when our dad actually went down and bought records, he felt a little ripped off by that whole thing. He thought that they were doing it on purpose, and when he started recording professionally for a record company, he found out, yeah, they did do that. They actually pulled their punches and stuff, and he insisted to his label as a result that they always put his strongest material on the A side and the B side to double the value of your money. So, in honor of that, we're going to play two huge smash hit, iconic Ricky Nelson #1 singles because they were the A and B side of the same vinyl 45. Now both these songs defined an era. You will know the words to both of them. They're wonderful songs. But the first song is extra cool for the reason that the Smithsonian contacted our family a few years back and let us know that because of our grandpa's bright idea of putting a filmed travel scene behind our father as he was singing and playing, the Smithsonian acknowledges Ozzy and Ricky Nelson officially as the inventors of the very first conceptual rock music video in history for the first song we're going to sing for you, a song called Traveling Man. Take a look at the screen.
And suddenly Rick had the biggest hit of his career.
I'm a traveling man, made a lot of stops all over the world.
In the spring of '61, Traveling Man became Rick's second #1 single. He wasn't an adult yet, but he'd already made his first comeback.
In my book, he was right there with Elvis. In fact, there seemed to be a point where Rick passed Elvis, and that was Traveling Man.
Ozzy Nelson was still featuring his son's latest songs on the 9th season of Ozzy and Harriet.
Rick and his father were, in a very real sense, responsible for some of the earliest music videos.
You guys ready to do this? Do it. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
Waiting for me.
I mentioned this movie before, Rio Bravo. Our dad was, he was celebrating his 18th birthday on a movie set for a Western that was going to become a classic. The stars of the film were John Wayne in the lead role. Of course, our dad supported, and his cast members were Dean Martin, Walter Brennan, and Angie Dickinson in her first ever movie. He got to play a two-pistol gunfighter named Colorado, who rides into town, teams up with the good guys, shoots up the bad guys, and saves the day. Sings a song with Dean Martin in the middle of the picture for no reason at all. At the time, he had the #1 song, the #1 television show, the #1 movie. It's never happened in history since. And I think the big accomplishment, though, was the fact that his real-life date to his surprise birthday party on the set was Angie Dickinson. I mean, where do you go from there, fellas? I mean, not so bad, right? Not so bad being Ricky Nelson. So I think what we'll do is go right to a clip. Here comes Rio Bravo.